So good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Nilesh Kumar. I'm the chief instructor of this course. Our course is known as Journey of Innovation: Finding Your Idea and Making It Global. The idea behind this course is that anyone who is attending or seeing it online, um, if you are worried that I have an idea how to take it forward, is it worth taking? It is worth exploring. If it is explored, how to make it work? Uh, does it require an industry partner? Should I do it myself, or should I invest in something and make an infrastructure for myself as well? If you have a surgical idea, is it innovative enough to call it myself? How to do everything? So my co-instructors are my guru, Dr. Ashish Sharma sir, who has mentored me in the innovation journey, and Dr. John Davis Sakara, who will be joining us shortly because he has clash of instruction courses, and then Dr. Swati Kalki ma'am, whom I met in one of the innovators competition. She is a brilliant surgeon and she is having similar innovation in surgical area. And then Dr. Prakhyat Rup, sir has innovated negative dysphotopsia ring and has worked with the industry to take it global and make it commercial. So I'll start with my talk. My talk is on finding your germinal idea. So, good evening, everyone. Again, sorry, good morning, everyone. Uh, I am talking about this because I got a germinal idea when I was working with Dr. Ashish Sharma sir in my DNB residency. The idea was very simple: to image the anterior segment angle, anterior chamber angle, because a lot of difficulty I was facing in convincing my patients. So these are my financial disclosures. Dexpro is one of its kind frugal commercial smartphone-based gonio imaging device, which is in the process of patent application, and it is compatible with 2, 3, 4, and 6 mirror gonio lens and smartphone, and it is working on single camera, multi-camera, and all Android and Apple means iPhones. And this is how the device is set up for use. We place the gonio lens in the adapter, which by design aligns centrally with the optics of the smartphone holding segment where the smartphone, whether it is Android or iPhone, is snapped fit. Normal camera app, or now we have a proprietary MI Red Cam which images for both the Dix Pro and the original MI Red Cam can be used for clicking the image. It is done under topical anesthesia. The lens with the holder is applied in normal fashion, and the patient is asked to look straight. The smartphone segment aligns beautifully with the lens adapter, and you just click using the camera flash. It is as simple as that. So these are a few sample images I have taken using Vogue 4 mirror lens, a few sample images using Ocular 3 mirror lens. But how did it all happen? How the journey has been? The two most common questions asked by any innovator are: how did you get uh, how did you get that idea, and how did you decide to take it forward? I will try to answer these two questions in my today's presentation based on my learnings from and my interaction with much better innovators like those who are sitting over here. Everyone has got ideas. When presented with a problem, any logical mind will say that this is the solution. Anyone in the audience who wants to innovate, focus on finding the problem, not on the solution. Find a problem that is very personal to you. Find a problem that you really want to be solved for yourself, and then let your brain do the magic. My problem was convincing the patient that they have closed angle and they required YAG PI. Even after counseling them for a long time, 15-20 minutes, they really rarely agreed for such a simple procedure, all because they couldn't understand what this junior doctor resident is telling me for, and why this procedure is so important when I just walked in for a routine refraction. The only way to convince them was to show their image, but there is no frugal technique. There was no frugal technique at that time to for me to image the angle and show it to them. So that was the idea that hit me, and the solution that my brain showed was a mirror selfie. What is gonio mirror? Is it not a mirror? Are you not taking mirror selfie every time you go to gym? Can't you do the same with the gonio mirror? You go really close to the mirror and just click. That that was the basic funda behind Dixpro. So just keep listening to yourself, and you don't know where the idea will hit you. But it is not that just I just got the idea in evening and the next day Dix was born. took me just 8 to 10 days to gather that courage to first click that image. And as the luck would have it, when I was clicking the first image, Ashish sir walked into that room and he's like, "What are you doing?" And that's how he came on the journey before the idea was born. Ikigai is a Japanese philosophy which means reason of being. It asks you to answer only 4 questions about anything that you want to do, and if you answer that truthfully, you will have the clarity whether to do it or not. The questions are: do you love it? Are you good at it? Does the world need it? And will anyone pay for it for you to do it? So the first question first: do you love the idea you have got? I love my idea. If you don't, be ruthless and discard it at that place only. Sole reason is that is going to take a lot of your time, a lot of your cognition, your attention, and a lot of your time, family time also. It took 12 types of macro lens setup that we tried over the first 6 months. That is the first image we got, and the first setup. I pasted a macro lens over the cover of my iPhone OnePlus 6, and then we started taking the image. Make sure you love your idea because the journey is going to become your passion. The next question to be answered is: are you good enough to implement your idea? This decides the route you are going to take to develop your idea. If you can do it, then take the do it yourself route. That will give you complete freedom to keep developing and not to stop at a point. If you think you can't do it, but you can do it, but lack a direction, then a mentor can help you. Like I was lucky to get Ashish even before I started my journey, which has helped me to achieve what I have today so fast. Getting a right mentor will not only help you to do what you need to do, they will also prevent you from making the mistakes they have made. If you are not getting a mentor, then someone from the industry can help you, the route that Dr. Prakhyat has taken. If you are taking that route, make sure you protect your idea and do not disclose it freely. The third question to be answered is: does the world need your innovation? In simple terms, is your problem a real problem for many of your colleagues? If and is there no viable solution available for it? For me, gonioscopy is not performed in majority of patients walking in, and there is no recent advance in gonio imaging that is frugal enough and can be easily utilized for patient education. That convinced us to develop our innovation further and to propagate it. We published this technique in Journal of Glaucoma, and the quality till then was good enough to make it to the cover art of the journal. The last question really decides whether your innovation is going to be commercial or is it just going to be a jugaad. A simple question: will somebody pay for it? Once we had published the article in Journal of Glaucoma, we got so many queries that is this a device or is it just a technique? How can we buy it? And that answered the question for us. But commercialization is a very costly process. Developing even a simple attachment may cost you 5 to 6 lakhs in prototyping stage, apart from the patenting and other costs. And thus, economics needs to be understood before proceeding. In my opinion, your research and your innovation should be self-sufficient and it should pay for itself. But have we done all we could have done with the device now that it is commercial and has won multiple innovation awards and is present internationally? No, not at all. The beauty of innovation is that it keeps evolving. So the next frontier is to achieve the reflection-free image. We are experimenting with various polarized lights, filters, external flashes to provide a reflection-free 360-degree image of the angle, which hopefully soon will be available. This all is possible because I answered the first question very, very, very truthfully. I love my idea. I absolutely in love with my idea. The next frontier to achieve, so keep loving your idea, keep innovating, keep translating, and keep digging. Thank you. So next, I would call upon Dr. Prakhyat Rup sir. He is going to give us the formula for blockbuster, how to work with industry.
Thank you. So, good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Prakhyat, and I'll be speaking on formula for a blockbuster working with the industry. I think that the topic that Nilesh has given to me has basically two aspects. One is first you find the formula for a blockbuster, and then you work with the industry. So I'll be speaking on both of these topics. And I don't have a financial disclosure per se for this presentation, but I'll be taking the example of the ND ring, which is a patent that is still under review and is commercially available for treatment of negative dysphotopsia. So I'll be speaking on what is the worth of your idea, how would you determine the worth of your idea, how would you protect your idea because it is worthy, and then you will build value for that idea, and then you will have a realistic determination of what your intellectual property, idea, device is worth. And then once you know the value, then you know that you can negotiate or collaborate with the industry and get your due. For that, you need to know your industry partners requirements, the prerequisites that qualify a industry partner to be a useful association with you. So you have to recognize your own constraints, and so that you know that the industry partner who you are collaborating with will answer or solve those problems which you don't have a solution for. You have to define why you need to collaborate with them, and you need to have a fruitful association only and only if you need to do it. The reason for that is that if you don't think that you needed that collaborator with you, you will never be satisfied with the association because you will always feel that I could have done it myself. Anyway, so we'll start with the worth of your idea. There is a felt need, which means that once, like Dr. Nilesh said, once you go into your own practice and you realize that this is a problem that I am facing, the question is are other people also facing this problem, or is this problem unique to just me? So the felt need is basically a realized problem that is important to clinical practice, that has some impact on your practice, on your patient's life, and there is paucity of a solution for that problem. After knowing the need, which is relatively easier and instinctive to determine, you have to see the saleability quotient of your idea. Now, I am started out by determining the saleability quotient because that will ultimately determine if your idea is going to be worthy enough or valuable enough. So you have to understand from a personal perspective to a overall perspective of practice in the whole fraternity of doctors. What is the scale of this problem? Like I said, is it problem only localized to me, specific to me, or there is a huge scale of this problem? And you have to see the ease of administration or use of your invention, the value addition that it does to the current scenario. Like I said, is there a paucity of solutions? Are the solutions very complex? So are you going to give some uniqueness or build a monopolized kind of a solution where it is the only one that is around, or is it going to be one of the competitors of the existing technologies? Then you have to look at the desirability of that solution with all the antecedent solutions or things that have existed. You have to understand and determine, do a survey and know that if this is a problem that is going to be saleable because it is desired by all the other practitioners. Once you know that your idea is worthy, first and foremost you have to protect your idea. The reason is that if you want to have a fruitful association with any collaborator, be it a fellow practitioner, be it your friend, or be it somebody from the industry, you have to protect your idea with your name, because ultimately you are going to be unhappy if the whole idea then goes as a credit to somebody else, or you are not able to share your information freely because you have not protected your idea. That will reduce your chances of finding a good collaborator. So patentability depends on the innovation or invention being statutory, meaning that it is legal; novel, it has a new step or a new process; which is not obvious. It is not just 2 plus 2 4. It is something more than that. And it is an inventive step, meaning that it is your creative idea. It should be useful and practical. And then you have to file for a patent, which I think is a whole different topic. So you can first and foremost file a patent in India. Then you can go for a PCT application, which is basically a treaty amongst major countries in the world, where you file this application and you get a 3-year slot to file your patents in all the individual territories of other countries. And then the other path to protect your idea is to have a non disclosure agreement without patent application, which I would not suggest anybody to do. In fact, I would say that one should go for a patent and have an NDA with anybody who he or she is looking to collaborate with, because both of the things have their useful aspects and we should be covered with both. Next, we go on to building value. So, we have to materialize the abstract idea to build value in it. If you give somebody a device to implant in the eye and you tell that this implant will do this thing, everybody will take it, go home, find a patient, and do it. But if you tell them, I have this idea, we can make something out of it, nobody is going to be interested in it. So, like Dr. Nilesh always says, that once you have it in your hand, that is when the value starts building. So, for that, you have to be struggling. Then you have to validate your idea, have a proof of concept in vitro, in vivo, depending on how difficult your thing is to make. And then you have to establish the clinical application through trials, refine your idea, and have a final product. As you go on each step of this slide of these points, your value keeps on building. So if you collaborate at the step of materializing the abstract idea, you are likely to get less worth for your idea, because the collaborators are going to have to work harder, going to have work further, and they are going to basically be so to say gambling with you, because your idea is not yet proven. And if you are at the final product and you go to somebody to say that this is the final product, I have already got the proof of its validity, it is reliable, it is safe, it is efficacious, then all the other person has to do is just take it up, just see it clinically, and they know the value of your idea. So you get more worth out of it. So, my first, thank you. I think we have a lot of time. So, the first worth of my idea was basically known to me. It enlightened me when I saw a lot of patients having this problem where they would say that there is something here which is blocking my vision. My eyes are not opening completely after the surgery. I see this dark band that happens in the periphery. You can see every patient that I used to get of in the post-op, 1/3 of them would have their hand like this. And I was amazed because the descriptions were so varied, and I didn't know that this problem had such a large scale. And I came across the problem, which is negative dysphotopsia. And I realized that we have a solution for cataract for everything that the patient wants to say. I have cloudy vision, I have difficulty in reading. We have state of the art cataract surgery, no morbidity. You go back same day, no patch, nothing. We allay every fear of the patient in cataract surgery today. But let's see what will happen when the surgeon faces the patient in the post-op, when the patient says that I have this black shadow and I can't see the whole view. This is extremely nagging problem. The surgeon says, okay, let's wait and see. Then he says that it hasn't got any better. Surgeon says, maybe we can try this, maybe we can try that. So basically what happens is that when you were doing the surgery for the patient primarily, you were very confident. But when he has this side effect that has been caused by the surgery, you cut a sorry face. So an efficacious, safe and easy solution was much needed, because I was facing this problem, because I see all my post-ops myself and I talk to them and they talk about this problem left, right and center. In fact, when I started noticing this problem, I realized that patients have so many varied ways of describing negative dysphotopsia. So we got an idea, we studied and we got an idea to basically solve the two major theories of causation of negative dysphotopsia. And we validated it with an in vitro model where a ring implant would sit in the sulcus over the capsular bag complex, and it would allow the central rays to go through the intraocular lens unaffected by the implant. The rays from the temporal periphery would undergo refraction through the edge and illuminate the nasal shadow and spread in the nasal peripheral area. And since the ring would sit on the anterior capsule, it would do away with the problem of reflect reflectance of the anterior capsule at high angles of incidence. So the first journey for building value started with this patent application, where we filed an application with a ring implant having a cut which was basically like a relaxing incision, and to open the ring, and haptics in the shape of pads like a phakic IOL to place it in the sulcus. But then very soon we got a few collaborators from IIT Delhi, and we made a model to see exactly what the shape or the size or the cross section of the ring should be. And then once we had all this validation and we had got the first few models, which by the way I made by punching out holes in the IPCL, and we validated the idea and we took it to all around in the forums, and we got recognition for it, and we realized that this was building in value. We did a clinical study with the first model that we got the prototype through an industry partner, which is Care Group, and we did a clinical study on 22 cases, which we submitted in the CTRI as the trial for approval, and we got amazing results. There was just one patient who had a continuous complaint of negative dysphotopsia, but it was partially relieved. All the others had complete resolution immediately in the first post-op day. So then we knew that this idea has value, and now it continues to be with Care Group, and they continue to market it. So why did I choose to go with the industry? I recognized my own constraints. You see, it was an implant which needed engineering in terms of biomaterials, in terms of manufacturing, in terms of quality control, and also in terms of regulatory approvals, which is very difficult to get. So, as an individual, I realized that this was a constraint for me because I am primarily a clinical practitioner and I love clinical practice. So, these are the points where I feel that somebody could have constraints, and which is basically biomedical engineering, prototyping, manufacturing, quality controls, and regulatory approvals. And I had all these constraints, not one point missing. So I defined my needs. I knew what I wanted from my partner, what were the essential qualifications, and what were the desirable qualifications. You see, desirable things are those like you want a bigger partner. You want to say that, okay, this person can also make it, but this person could do it better. So you should know what is the bare minimum, and you should also know that out of these options, what could be the best for me. And then for a fruitful association, you have to know your strengths and your weaknesses so that you can share the value with your partner and not feel cheated. So basically, it is built on mutual respect. You have to understand that you cannot get the idea to fruition if you are going to stay alone. And at the same time, you have to know your own value so that you are not undervalued or undercut. So basically, within 2 days of associating with Care Group, we went from this design to the final design that we have right now, wherein they already were using add-on lenses on a platform of haptics which had bunny ears, and actually made lens on an idea that I gave them on a napkin when I told them about the policies of their multifocal. But and they said that, we can sign an NDA, we can do this. We signed an NDA with them, and still they went ahead and made it And they said that we were already working on this idea. This is completely unrelated to what you gave us.
At that young age, means you have proceeded with industry, which is not very difficult. Means which is not very difficult. So means because we are a very close group. So I have a question that, for example, a few questions means this photopsia problem is I am into retina, but means still very interesting. So photopsia, what is your market size? Means because what I see in my practice, because all these anterior segment guys they send us patients, just for their satisfaction, you go and see retina because they are not able to satisfy them, just go and see if retina something. So in my understanding till now, it is a problem of predominantly people who who got multifocal implanted. So I see that less in trifocals. Is that right?
So, sir, basically, you're talking about positive photopsia. This is negative dysphotopsia, which happens because of the square edge of an in the bag IOL. So, negative dysphotopsia is experienced by about 20% of
Yeah,
patients.
that's what so market size, that's what I am asking.
So about 20% of the patients in the early post-op, and about 3% continue to have the problem by the end of 1 year. So I would not say that it is as big a size as a primary implant, but the size is enough to disrupt your practice if you don't have a solution for it. For example,
Means rather than practice, I will put it as an innovator, and that
in the market,
in the market means what kind of financial viability it gives you.
It's financially viable to the extent of using CTR and CONI.
Okay, got it.
So to practically put it, not put it in the terms of numbers, but to put it in this way, that as many cases you require CTR for, as many cases you will require ND ring for, if you were to truly treat them and not just counsel them away. And
how many are willing to treat it?
A lot of people are willing to treat it. Now that people are implanting premium IOLs and doing femtosecond lasers, the cost of surgery has gone so high that the patient wants to be satisfied about everything. So very recently, Dr. D. Ramamurthy has implanted a few. Dr. Vasavada has implanted a few. So people are taking it up, and they are, in fact, ultimately, I'm pretty sure that it is going to become a preventive strategy for anybody doing a premium IOL. And what I understand is that we have a big patient load, so the uptake is slightly lesser in India, but as soon as it's available with the CE mark, I think people are going to understand its value much more. I was speaking with Narayan Netrale. So Dr. Naren Shetty was also of the opinion that what happens is, to do any solution of negative dysphotopsia, basically you have to go in and exchange the IOL, lift the IOL into the sulcus, do something like that, which is very tedious to do after fibrosis has happened. So that way it is a much easier solution, much more effective solution. It is 97% effective.
Do you have any competitor as yet?
Not really. There is only one treatment for negative dysphotopsia, which is a single point treatment, which is ND ring. Otherwise, all the other treatments are either very less efficacious, like 66%, something is 50% effective, and or they require you to have a different IOL, which in which
so
you have to
realistically you do not have a practical competitor. It's just a last question, means because we are a close group, what kind of financial sharing, means whether you can share with iCare, means I'm not sure whether this is your personal means to disclose or not.
So basically I will get a royalty for the sales per each piece that is sold, and for that I have basically licensed my patent to them.
But patent is not there yet.
It's under review. It's published. It's during
application is published.
Yeah.
So basically financial relationship is in the term of that each ND ring they sell, they give you a royalty.
Yes.
Do they give you any lump sum amount to share?
You can, as of now,
sorry if I'm taking long time. Okay.
My particular agreement, it's not not there, but you can have it if your idea is even more valuable. So
Okay.
that is how
In the
it
interest
works.
of time, I think probably we'll stop
Yeah.
because we can take
We'll have John.
We'll have a photograph as well.
Okay.
And best wishes, Prakhyat. I think you should take it to international level. Yeah.
He loves doing everything himself. So let's hear how to do it yourself innovations.
Thank you, Dr. Nilesh. I need to get approval from the home minister wife. Yeah. It's in the budget. It's put for the next annual budget. So Dr. Ashish was just asking whether I bought the 3D printer. I have not, but it is quite affordable. You can get a 3D printer for 17,000 rupees, and even lower, 12,000 rupees, you get a very basic model. You can get a 3D printer and start using it. It's cheaper than a smartphone, much cheaper than a smartphone, I would say. You can get a resin 3D printer, you can get an FDM 3D printer, learn a bit of 3D modeling on YouTube. You can also maybe learn some other things about artificial intelligence, software programming. All these things are available online. So let's start the talk. My talk is about the open source code of innovation. So you should realize that it is not opposite to patenting and all that. Like Dr. Prakyat said, if you have an idea and you want to protect it, it is very important to patent it, and the patent just gives you the legal rights to it. You will have to run after it if you want to actually protect it. But suppose you don't want to make money out of it, you just want your name there. You can even without going through the entire patent process, you can just publish it. So that is one option, so that your name is on there and you don't have to spend the time, effort and money for the patent process. It depends on your outlook on what your idea is and what you want to use it for, and what you want other people to use it for. Financial disclosures, these are mine. And like Dr. Nilesh was talking about, you have to find your germinal idea and get it to the stage where you can use it. So there is a lot of things which you have to know about an idea. Idea is not something which is inherently valuable. You have to make sure that the idea is foolproof. You have to prove it. You have to make a concept. You have to make a proof of concept. You have to test it out and all those things. So once you have an idea and you want to share it with the world, you can do it open source. If it's a software idea, you can open source it. You can start getting help from different people who have the same mentality that you do a collaborative software, do an open source software. If you have a hardware idea, you can start designing something in CAD. You can put it on Thingiverse or any of the 3D design website, get other people to collaborate, and then you can share it. Make sure your name is there. You publish it in a reputed journal so that it is documented. If it is published, others cannot patent it. That is how the patent process goes. And all these terminologies are things we should know when you have an idea which you want to patent or open source. These are all things which are available if you just go through a beginner's course on YouTube about ideas. So what I'm talking about is closed innovation and open innovation. If it is a closed innovation, the idea is completely limited to a certain group of people. They will have their set mindsets. They may not get some additional ideas which could have improved the idea tremendously. So if you have it as an open innovation, even if you have it patented and have other people collaborating with you, your idea will become so much more. You will get ideas about things which you didn't even consider thinking about. you would not have thought, because you never came across that specific problem. So that is the advantage of open innovation. And of course, necessity is the mother of innovation, but laziness is often the father. You may not know who is the father sometimes, but laziness is often the father. The laziest people, the smart lazy people, that is whom you have to find. They will find a solution for everything, because they are lazy. They don't want to do things the hard way. They will find an easy way and they will make it work. So earlier we would have all this knowledge limited to people who paid for it and went to a particular college, or you have to go to a particular person and learn from them. Now with the open access of the internet, everybody who wants to share is able to share. They make their own videos and articles and instruction courses and put it online. Same like this instruction course from the AIOS, we are putting it up on the AIOS website. So this information is available to whoever is looking for it. So that is what the current age is. If you want to share information, if you want to get information, you can find it. And this is how I went across with the 3D printing. I learned 3D printing by first going to YouTube and learning how to do 3D designing. Then we had access to a 3D printer and printed it. So these are some of my early designs. I'm not going through the whole thing, but this is the 3D printed glaucoma drainage device, because I had an idea that, okay, maybe if I make a valve this way, it might be better. So this helps you prototype the ideas. So learn 3D designing online and then go ahead. So let me go to the next slide. Okay, so another thing to know is that sometimes technology can cause problems. So you have to learn how to fix technology problems yourself. All this is not taught. You will have to learn by experience. So I'm going to restart the slide and go to, go to this particular thing. So this is Thingiverse. I had uploaded some of my designs on Thingiverse. So once you have these designs on Thingiverse, you have several people who are just having free time and the interest to look at these 3D designs. They will look at these things, and if they feel that they want to collaborate, they will contact you. They will use this design, they'll add their modifications, ultimately creating something much better than you thought was even possible. This is the website for my Thingiverse account. And this is another interesting thing which we did. We had, I was a faculty in Ramchandra Medical College, Chennai for 2 years, and we had MBBS students who were a bit tired of the ophthalmology classes. So I taught them 3D printing, artificial intelligence. So they used to always come for my clinical classes, because I used to teach them something other than what they taught in MBBS. And they came to me and said, "Sir, let's do a project." And they came up with this idea to do a 3D printed punctal plug. And they went on YouTube, learned how to do 3D designing. And I didn't know, because I didn't have an iPad at the time. They downloaded an app on iPad. They did the design on that. They came to me and said, "Sir, we made this design. How do we proceed?" We had a 3D printer in the dental college. I went there and got them access to the 3D printer. We printed it. And that has gone very well. They are now published it also. All this can be done on this 17,000 rupees printer, and I think they're getting a printer now. So that is very, very easy for people with the interest to learn and do all these things. And GitHub is for open source software. If you have access to people with the knowledge to do these, you can just collaborate with them and do the softwares for things. YouTube is the university of YouTube, is where you get all these things. These are several apps that I have done. Again, learn from YouTube. I think this was not only YouTube. This I started when I was in school. So that was, I had access to some library books which I used to take and start typing and learning all these things. Then of course I went to the view source code of website and started learning from there. This is all some games which I made from C++ and some apps which I made with Java, J2ME, Java to ME, and HTML and CSS and JavaScript. These are some 3D printed objects. This is from Arvind Pondicherry that I learned that we could do this. And this is about one of my latest innovations, which is a foldable fundascope. Same thing, I had an idea. We can have something which is ultra portable, have it in our pocket, because I had this problem where they had access to a fundus smartphone fundus camera, but they were too lazy to carry it around. I wanted them to go to the wards, go to the casualty. When they have a doubt on something with the fundus, I want them to take a fundus photo and bring it. They don't do that, they keep it in the OPD. So I want them to have something in their pocket that they can carry. So that is what I did, develop this fundus camera, which is basically folding onto itself. 3D printing helped to make a prototype, and that is how it is. So thank you to all the institutions where I learned, and thank you to our instruction course chief and all the co-innovators who are promoting this idea of innovations. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I know you have to run for another IC, so we will won't have discussion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Next, I would like to involve Dr. Swati Kalki, ma'am. She is a brilliant surgeon, and she is going to talk about something that is not in the theme that we are working right now, because we always think innovation is just about getting idea and making products, but it is not. You innovate in your surgeries also, and that surgery, that surgical step can be your signature art. So over to Swati, ma'am.
Thank you, Nilesh. Good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for including me in this instruction course. I think we don't have too much time, is it? 8:55, I think. Okay.
We can have two
I'll
quick
try to do
presentations.
it in 5 minutes and let Ashish take. Okay. So today I'll be talking about the small modification that we did for the treatment of ocular surface squamous neoplasia. I do not have any financial disclosures to make, and appropriate consent has been taken for the use of photographs that I will be using in my presentation. So often we come across cases of ocular surface squamous neoplasia where they're not responding to medical treatment. And when they're not responding to medical treatment, the obvious treatment becomes surgery. And when we do surgery, obviously it may not end the way that we want them to. Like in these cases where the patients develop limbal stem cell deficiency, the first case being a total and the second being the partial limbal stem cell deficiency. So the next obvious step when they develop LSED is to go ahead and do SLET procedure, which has been, I think, being used for the past decade. And that's what we did in these cases. And after the SLET was done, as you can see, it's gone back to what it started with. That is, there was recurrence of the limbal stem cell deficiency. So which clearly means that when we do SLET as a secondary procedure, it's clearly not working in these cases. Now, if we look back at the background as to why this has occurred, it's mainly because these cases with OSSN already have loss of limbal stem cells. So there is limbal stem cell deficiency that is existing, and the surgery kind of adds to it, and that causes surgery induced limbal stem cell loss as well. Now, if we look at the solution, as I think we have heard in the previous talks as well, how we have to try to solve the problem. So here the main problem is that there is loss of limbal stem cells, and that's what we have to replace. Now, when we have to replace, we have already tried the secondary SLET, which clearly didn't work. So we wanted to see if primary SLET actually works in these cases. The traditional way of treating an ocular surface squamous neoplasia is like we remove the tumor along with 4 millimeters margin, and in the process obviously we will be losing the limbal stem cells at least 2 clock hours more than the size of the tumor, and on the corneal side we remove about 2 millimeters of the corneal epithelium. This is a standard procedure, and we do double freeze thaw cryotherapy to the margins. Now, when the loss of the conjunctiva tenens and the corneal epithelium, we are obviously replacing with an amniotic membrane graft. But traditionally, what we have not been doing is not accounting for the loss of the limbal stem cells, and that's what we aim to do. That why don't we combine the slet as a primary procedure when we do OSSN surgery? That was the small tweak that we did in the surgery. But for this, we needed to understand whether this modification is required in every case of OSSN that undergoes surgery. So for this, as you can see, this panel, it shows like various sizes of the tumor that it presents with and various locations. So we needed to understand whether we should do SLET in every case. So for this, we did a retrospective analysis to understand which are the cases which are at risk of developing this LSCD. So we did a retrospective analysis of the cases who had undergone excision biopsy without SLET. And what we saw was that when the tumors were small, less than 6 clock hours, they did not develop limbal stem cell deficiency, as you can see in the pictures on to the right, or rather to your left there. Um, the cases which actually develop limbal stem cell deficiency are those where there was loss of more than 6 clock hours of limbal stem cells. So as the table shows there, when there is loss of less than or equal to 4 clock hours, the limbal stem cell deficiency chances, I mean, they do not develop. 5 to 6 clock hours, about 50% of the cases can still develop, but more than 6 clock hours, almost every case develops LSCD. So we went ahead and started doing the SLET procedure in these cases where there was more loss of more than 6 clock hours of limbal stem cells. So this is the procedure. I hope it plays. Yeah. So this is the traditional way. So we will excise the tumor, do the double freeze thaw, place an AMG, harvest the limbal stem cells, sometimes from the opposite eye if there is loss of the significant limbal stem cell clock hours in the affected eye. Then we do the standard process of how we do a SLET, where the small limbal stem cell explants are placed, glued so that they remain in place, and the BCL is placed. Now, this is what it looks like. This is, I think, about 1 week post-op, where we can see an amniotic membrane graft and the SLET particles. And this is the OCT of a standard SLET procedure. When we do that, we see that day 1, the transplants are seen. Day 5, we already see that the epithelium is slowly growing. By day 8, almost there is a bridge between the two SLET particles. The epithelium is grown. And by 3 months, these SLET particles completely disappear and the cornea is nicely epithelialized. Now, these are the examples where we did the SLET as a primary procedure, where you can see that these are large OSSNs where there definitely will be loss of more than 6 clock hours of limbal stem cells. We did primary SLET in these procedures, and you can see this is post-operative, where none of these patients developed limbal stem cell deficiency, because we did this as a primary procedure rather than waiting for the complication to develop and then taking care of the complication. And this was the pilot study that we published, and now we continue to do the SLET procedure as a primary procedure when we know that the loss of limbal stem cells will be more than 6 clock hours. So in conclusion, primary SLET after excision of OSSN involving more than 6 clock hours of limbus, it prevents or at least minimizes the signs of LSCD, because in the pilot study where we studied 7 cases, none of the cases developed LSCD. But now that we have more than 25 cases where we have done this procedure, still less than 5% of them can develop some signs of limbal stem cell deficiency, but nothing visually significant. So with this, I conclude my talk. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. And for the interest of time, we will skip the discussion. And I would like to invite my mentor, Dr. Ashish Sharma sir, who will be talking about how to patent your
I'm
idea
honored
and
to be
product
a
training.
part of this gathering. Swati, she's a fantastic surgeon, our friend since a long time. Prakhyat, very young, dynamic innovator, and I'm always proud on my student Nilesh. So these all young tucks are always an inspiration for me. So means I learn a lot of things from them. So quickly, I think we have 5 minutes. So quickly, we'll means finally we got our patent last week. So that journey means it's a little long, especially in India. So I'll share a few of so this is the patent that we got last week, Indian patent. We had, as we said, as Prakhyat said, PCT application. We did file PCT application, uh, and we got all the positive responses for all those inventive steps in PCT application. But ultimately, after 36 months, you need to decide that whether it's worth investing that kind of money and going through the national phase or not. Probably Prakhyat did a right thing to collaborate with the industry. Probably that burden of money, probably they would be in a much better position to afford. So means I'm not going to detail. So patent journey means, again, never publish. It should never be in a public domain before you try to file it. Means I was with Rohit Shetty last to, and he was remembering the days in 2015. He invited me in Bangalore, and I just showed fundus images. I did not show any design of the device. He was angry that time. He said, Ashish, we were not able to mark you that day in 2015 when you came. And then we said, he has just not showed anything. How can we mark him? And then he said, now, Ashish, you tell that why you didn't show that time. So do not do that mistake of showing things in the public domain until unless you have filed it. So we filed patent 2015, and this was the first paper which came out in 2016. And I always say, do not file by yourself. I burnt my fingers with filing myself a US provisional patent. So, because we do not know how to write, we are not tuned to that. For example, as a medical professional, if I invent a chair, I would write, I'm making a platform where people would sit 1 feet above, and it has 4 legs and one platform to, give you a relaxation to your back. Your patent will infringe if somebody just takes out 1 leg. A patent attorney would write, I am making a platform which is above the ground, not particular distance, above the ground where a human body sits, and it can be seated with 1 leg or more than 1 leg. That's how it is. That's how the language differs. So your claims become much wider, so infringement chances would be much less. So do not wait for final product. You can very well file your patent as soon as you have your prototype ready. And as Prakhyat also highlighted in between, so you can go 3 ways. But do file a patent. At least it gives you first right. Even as Prakhyat said, he's able to commercialize, go with the industry. Even the patent is not there yet, but you have first right. So file a patent. PCT also good. It gives you 36 months, to assess yourself. Where do you stand? And you can directly go to national phases as well, but that's not a good idea, because again, it's pumping money in the beginning until unless you have really not seen the fruit is not a good idea. And as Prakhyat highlighted, patent does not protect you at all. We are normal human being. Patent helps you in a lot of ways. It gives you respect. It gives you ability to go to file grants or apply for grants for your studies. You are much more respected in terms of your work. But only Apple and Samsung can fight for patent. We cannot, if it really comes on infringement, especially the country like India. Why patent? As I already said. So means the best way that you can protect yourself is take your product to a different level with your work, with your science, with your presentations, with your international. That's how you defeat all copy guys. And being into ophthalmology is a big plus, because you can take your product to anywhere. So probably this was one of our weakness which we are working on now. So again, you have to have a dedicated, these are not patent related, so I'll quickly go through it. So as I said, international presence. When we started, we were everywhere. We were on American Academy interviews, on courses, on American Academy papers, on cover pages. So you should be seen across the globe that you were the first one to do it. Rather than patent protecting you, you should be seen across the globe at each and every platform. User feedback solutions, I think this is more not with a patent, but more of the journey wise. So I think I would like to thank all the collaborators. Recently, 2 days before, a paper came from JAMA, again validated our device from Singapore National Eye Institute with Oregon, US, and Arvind Eye Hospital. They have proved in comparison with the Clarity RedCam, which is a gold standard device, that MI RedCam is something which should be used globally to provide a realistic solution, especially in referable ROP. So thank you so much for having me here. Nilesh, thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for inspiring always. Sir's talks are very inspiring, and it is a pity that we can't have more discussion on this. But as next set of speakers are ready, we are going to hand over the podium to them. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.